windswept hills of ancient Ireland for a little while, and travel south to the sun-baked shores of Lake Tiberias and the Roman province of Judea. Here we will meet a woman who knows the meaning of possession.
I remember when there was silence, always this silence. As a child, I would stare at the words of Homer and Aristotle, and I could hear my tutor's questions and the sound of my own voice answering, but no sound came from the page. My parents would drag us from party to wedding to dinner with princes and nobles, and I would listen to the shouts during the dances and the hushed conversations about which son of the Mad King was doing what. But still, underneath it all, there was this nagging silence, like the stillest, starless night. And I would lie in bed at night and hope, during those long moments before sleep, that a voice would come, louder and stronger than any voice I'd heard before, and fill that still, starless space within me. Then a voice came. I don't remember all the details. It's as if a blackness, a void, has filled the spaces of memory. But I know we came home late. We'd been at some celebration or another, and I remember my father laughing as we neared our house. It was such a pleasant, rare sound. For months, his words had been jagged and tense, but now this sound, rich and deep, it stopped when he went into the house. There were soldiers inside. I don't know how many. I just remember flashes of sharp silver and my mother's high-pitched cry and me running. I ran and I ran and I ran. I don't know how long. I just remember seeing rows and rows of our vineyards blow past me. Sometime later, maybe hours, maybe days, I was back at the house. I didn't know how I got there, but what I did know was this: the vibrations in the room were wrong. I stood in the courtyard of our house and stared at the pool. The splintered leg of a chair was floating towards the side, and I knew everyone was gone. My whole family was gone. The silence seemed to get louder, pulsating in my heart, and in that moment of realization, the voice came. I welcomed the sound, though it was strange and grating. At first, it seemed to come from outside me, surrounding me. But as I listened, it started to resonate between my ears. It was upon me. It was within me, quieting the silence. I was no longer alone. That voice carried me through the next weeks and months. As I wandered my fields, wandered the streets, it would make me eat food left out for me. Through a thick haze, I could see people watch me as I passed them. Most turned away. Some seemed to want to help, but didn't come near. Didn't they know I didn't need their help? Sure, the voice wasn't always pleasant. My bones felt distorted, my skin prickly and raw, and with a sound like a combination of barking dogs and cawing crows, it called me girl. But at least it was calling me something, was with me, acknowledging I was there. Then, a group of religious teachers found me on the street. They stood in front of me, blocking my path. A crowd gathered to watch. I had no choice but to stop. They stared at me with pursed lips and mocking eyes. I turned my head away. Then one of them called out to the voice, said, "Come out!" "Wait!" I tried to shout. But he called again and again, "Come out, come out!" And out it came. The silence was back. At first, it was a surprise relief. My bones felt whole. The sharpness, like prickling needles, was no longer inside my skin. People's faces and voices seemed clearer. But the silence was overwhelming. The pit of my chest deep, like a desert well. I wandered through my fields like that for days. My head was clear. My heart dragged behind me. Then, the voice came back. This time, though, there were many. They surrounded me, filled me. The prickling got sharper and stronger. The barking and cawing got louder, and I could no longer even hear the word girl. There was a chorus of clanging in my ears and my head within my skin. I ran to the streets, I rolled on the ground, I tore up my clothes, I scrubbed at my skin, anything to make it stop. Seconds felt like days, months like years. I could hardly hear people's voices as I went through the streets. My head and my body pounding. I tried to go to the sanctuary, but the people drove me away. So most days, I paced in my fields, hoping it would stop. Finally, one day, I felt the urge to go to the streets again. I went toward the market, and as I did, the barking cawing got louder, but I continued on. When I got close, I was startled. There was this voice breaking through the house. It kept saying one word, Mary. The building and the people's blurred as I turned around and around, but still I kept looking. Mary, Mary. Finally, I found the source. When I got closer, I could feel the name pulsating off of him like a heartbeat. But as the images started to clear, I could see his lips were moving. It was as if my name was resonating from his being. I went closer and closer. This new voice got louder and louder. The voices inside my being seemed to be shuddering until eventually I was right in front of him. He looked at me with such kindness, such compassion, such intensity. Like a bonfire was lit in the back of his eyes. I heard Mary again, and the voices were gone. The warmest, highest sun radiated throughout my being, and I could now feel the word within me as he said, Mary. Rabboni, I replied, and fell at his feet. This voice, the best voice I'd ever heard, was with me and within